Excerpts from my translation of Nakanishi Susumu's The Japanese Linguistic Landscape, Reflections on Quintessential Words. Published by Japan Library in 2019. To purchase the book, click on the link included in the description to this video. And I'm going to be reading these in random order, just whatever comes to mind. Hanagumori. Cloudy skies over cherry blossoms in full bloom. Hanagumori is written with the Chinese characters hana, for flower, and kumori, cloudy skies. The hana of Hanagumori refers specifically to the cherry blossom, sakura. Combining the sakura blossom with the image of kumori, the term expresses the cloudy skies that appear in early spring when cherry blossoms start to bloom in rich profusion. Since the dawn of recorded history, the Japanese have attached great value to the cherry blossom. That devotion began long before the relatively new Some Yoshino species of cherry tree, which is by far the most numerous species today, appeared in Japan in the Edo period. The tradition of cherry blossom viewing, or hanami, also dates back some 1,500 years to the time when the wild cherry tree, the Yamazakura, was the dominant species of cherry tree. Cherry trees have an extremely short flowering span and fragile-looking petals. Japan's hazy spring climate is by no means temperate or clement, making the cherry blossoms that much more ephemeral in nature. Spring weather tends to be rather unstable, marked by periodic heavy rains and fierce winds. In general, spring is the opposite of autumn, with its azure skies that stretch clear all the way up into the heavens. Caught between two contradictory extremes, the evanescence of the cherry blossom and the volatile weather, Japanese people are rarely at ease during the spring season. Then again, perhaps it is precisely because the cherry blossoms exist under such precarious conditions that people's hearts are so restless. You might even say that the anxiety pervading springtime is what engenders such a loving attachment to cherry trees. Indeed, the human heart is unfathomable. Hanagumori is another expression of the season's contradictory character. Layers of clouds spread out across the sky, while cherry blossoms bloom wildly underneath. Rain may start to fall at any moment now, it seems. These expansive blankets of clouds in the early spring sometimes create apparitions of halos around the sun and the moon, making the scene even more melancholic. The so-called yozakura custom of viewing the cherry blossoms at night under the halo-crowned pale moon is a popular pastime, and the inspiration for many nihonga, that popular Japanese style of modern painting that originated in the Meiji period, which have captured the double image of the yozakura and the halo-ringed moon. Hanagumori skies are the key ingredients behind that vague spring-like atmosphere. For things to qualify as spring-like, the sky must provide some contrast with the cloudy backdrop. Bright blue skies would oversaturate the mood. Years ago, I wrote a tanka poem that describes a cherry blossom tree shimmering brightly against a blazing sun in the background. But you could also describe the opposite, the perfect stillness of mist-like cherry tree petals blooming in wild profusion and then blooming some more under the billowing layers of haze-trailing clouds constitutes a more fitting image for spring. In that unmistakably indolent spring atmosphere, when our hearts seem to carry a twinge of spring melancholy, shunshu, Hanagumori provides the perfect backlighting. Okay, and the next one. Please note that I will be reading two chapters, or two entries from the book per video. So here's the next one. Tasogare. Tasogare, of course, is a very famous word that means the twilight hour, or as I subtitle it here, when one distrusts even a friend. The time of day when we notice that evening, yugata, has come is not the same time of day when we notice the tasogare, or twilight hour, has come. Often translated as twilight or dusk or the gloaming, Tasogare refers to the time of day when our work is done and we deduce intellectually that evening yugata is upon us, only to take a deep breath and intuit, perceiving the ineffable quality of the scenery outside, that it is now the Tasogare hour. Tasogare consists of three components: ta, so, and kare. Who, an emphasis particle zo, and kare, he. You could translate it as who in the world is he, or more idiomatically, who's there. In short, Tasogare is the time of day when the sunlight has grown so dim that you can no longer discern who or what is there, leaving you to wonder who goes there. Centuries ago, the Japanese called this puzzling time of day Tasogare. People might recall that there is a similar story behind the opposite phenomenon of dawn, yoake, and they are correct in making this connection. The word kawatare, twilight before dawn, simply switches the characters for ta and kare. He plus is plus who literally means he is who. This term refers to the sliver of time just before dawn when it is still too dark outside to discern appearances. In short, Tasogare and kawatare are identical in terms of substance, the same expressions, only inverted. Interesting as these two terms may be, I couldn't help but wonder why our predecessors were so obsessed with identifying figures in the dim light. Where does that who fixation come from? But then I realized something. In peaceful times such as ours, people have little need to worry about who or what might be lurking out there in dim light. Such times, however, have been extremely rare over the entire course of human history. For most of that span, periods of constant caution and vigilance have been far more common than those of peace. Then again, contemporary Japan is not without its own demons. When I was a kid, adults would warn us that kidnappers, hitosarai, were lurking around every corner, waiting in the shadows to whisk us away if we didn't hurry home after school. The sad fact is that abduction in Japan is worse now than it ever was then. The Tasogare hour is something that we perceive on a direct physical level. The entire landscape turns an opaque, yellowish color. For several minutes, the shapes of phenomena become unfixed and indeterminate, blurring into one another. Drivers on the road are keenly aware of how Tasogare affects perception. This kind of sensory distortion can be explained in naturalistic, scientific terms, of course. Even so, I marvel at the singular ability of the Japanese language to take the geophysical phenomenon of twilight and convert it to the psychological question, who goes there? Tasogare. Not to mention lend it widespread currency. I can't help but feel a deep veneration toward this word Tasogare, toward its moral implications. The word suggests an entirely different understanding of reality, a harsher view of the world, far removed from our safe, everyday world that simply tells us to turn on the light when our room gets dark at night. When we act from the assumption that it is the hour when demons lurk, even old Kobutori Ji-san, literally boil-removing old man, might be lucky enough to get a demon to remove the boils from his face.